Yeah, I know, I said I was done with Roblox, but you guys deserve a proper send-off, don't you think? Besides, there's something just nagging at my subconscious. I don't even know how I'm still feeling that burden out here, and, well, to be honest, I haven't got a clue where I even am, but there's a few things worth getting off my chest. For one thing, there's an entry about me on the unofficial Roblox wiki, and I've always wanted to do a video taking a look at it, offering insight, context, and corrections. Who knows, maybe it'll even be updated with information from this video. Whether that happens or not, I really don't care, to be honest, but one way or another, here we go. So it says I'm a well-known veteran Roblox YouTuber and game developer. I don't know if I'd call myself well-known anymore, considering my heyday has come and gone by now, but I did indeed have my time in the limelight, even though I never reached the heights of my contemporaries. Mostly known for my YouTube videos, specifically Raging Roblox Reviewer. I like how they mentioned that, but they don't even bring up Roblox Random Insanity up here, even though the first installment of that series got more views than all of the Raging Roblox Reviewer episodes combined. But it did become my flagship, so, you know. The article is definitely correct on all three fronts of my inspirations being R92, Mega Man 766, and JJ5X5. Mega Man being the first Roblox YouTuber I'd ever even seen, and that was what inspired the first video I ever made. JJ5X5 for Roblox Burnout Madness and Roblox Random Insanity, and R92 for my more high production value stuff like Roblox God of War. Currently terminated due to my account having been compromised, quote unquote. Yeah, you're right on the quote unquote, because I still don't understand how or when it even got compromised. But more on that later. Holy crap, almost 250,000 visits to my places. I think that's with all of my places combined, and most of those are going to be from the main game slot that I had on my account, which currently hosts the Dry Bones Arcade. That's not even counting all the visits I had in my alt accounts, of which I had a few. I like how the article describes Roblox Random Insanity as a series of clips recorded in-game with audio added. Nothing about it being a comedy series inspired by Laser Collection or Stick Figures on Crack, Roblox Gone Crazy, As the Movie, things like that at the time. That's sort of Robot Chicken style of sketch-based comedy. In this case, mostly with TF2 dialogue, because I was a fanboy of the game at the time. And a lot of the voice lines lend themselves to some peak comedy, as you can see in the series, particularly the first couple episodes. Raging Roblox Reviewer, inspired by AVGN. To nobody's surprise, that's one of the first things that I even said when I started the series, inspired by the genius behind AVGN, criticizing top front page and all-time visited games on Roblox. Yep, as opposed to AVGN, which tended to usually cover some of the more obscure games on the NES that nobody ever really cared about, and some of the higher profile ones and more notorious ones, but for me, I only ever went for the more popular games of their time, for better or worse. And as some people are well aware, it got me into some situations. But there's a segment on Raging Roblox Reviewer, so we'll get to more of that later. Burnout Madness, a series of random events in the place Need for Speed Burnout Edition by Crash FM. God, that takes me back. That series was actually the precursor to Roblox Random Insanity. The reasons I stopped doing Roblox Burnout Madness was because, for one thing, I was having a harder and harder time even playing that game because it was becoming so taxing on the computer. A computer that, at the time, wasn't even made for playing games. It was just an office computer. And for another, I kind of wanted to branch out from doing the whole cars and janky car physics and Roblox gags, because I figured that's only going to be funny for so long, and I was already running out of ideas. I wanted the comedy to take place in any number of games, not just that one specific place, which is ironic because most, if not all, of the first Random Insanity all took place in the same place. Meng Mountain Retreat by Roblox Vacation, one of my alts. Roblox Fun Facts, a series of videos where I talk about Roblox facts with a satirical twist. Yeah, to say the least. That's to say nothing of the Gmod shenanigans happening in the background. The series actually started as an experiment with chroma keying, and obviously, over time, the shenanigans in the background in the Roblox Fun Facts series just got sillier and sillier, to the point where a lot of stuff that happened in the background often overshadowed what I was even saying about Roblox or whatever. The series itself was also inspired by a video that was made by Joe, who mostly does animation, and back then, one of his big videos, still one of his big videos, is Super Mario Bros. Without touching the ground. Yeah, that guy. He had a bunch of live-action skits that he did in front of a camera, and among them was a one-off called Fun Facts, which was just a bunch of bogus facts. That was the direct inspiration for Roblox Fun Facts, and I'm sad to see that that video, as well as all his other live-action stuff, is gone. He seems to have scrubbed it off his channel for some reason or another. Maybe he was embarrassed by them, or he just wanted to focus primarily on his animation stuff. But Super Mario Bros. Without touching the ground is still there, so what do I know? His channel, he can do what he wants. But if you ever wanted to know how I got the idea for the series, there it is. Roblox God of War, an incomplete series. Yeah, rub it in, why don't you? I'm still happy with how that series turned out, but I feel like ending the series was for the best for two reasons. For one, I was losing interest in Roblox at that point anyway, and for another, even when I got a better computer, my interest was already gone, and even if I still wanted to keep going, the plans I had were a little too ambitious for anything on Roblox. I was already lucky enough to get Jedi Knight 1, 2, 3 to build some of the sets for me for free, which is a big reason as to why some of the later episodes are as awesome as they are. Aside from 7, which sucked because it was just a bunch of dialogue with nothing happening and a pivot sequence for some reason. Don't ask. Although I will say, if you wanted to know how Roblox God of War would have ended, just play God of War on PS2. You can easily make out the beats and the story elements that I was going to add in there, figure out how it was going to happen from there, because I was following the game beat for beat, although I was taking a lot of creative liberties and truncating things where necessary, otherwise the series would have gone on far too long, and it would have taken years to complete, I wager. And yeah, I was in Roblox Gone Crazy 5. The story as to how I got that cameo was simple enough. I was working on a video at the time that never saw the light of day, where I was going to have me and a bunch of other high-profile Roblox users joining up on a quest to go from place to place, all these big places at the time, in a quest to rescue Telemon. It was stupid, and I'm very, very happy that I never actually finished it. Besides, I don't think I was even going to be able to get all of the personalities I wanted all together and have our schedules line up anyway. I PM'd him on Roblox, because he was online at the time, asking him if he was interested in joining. He asked me when I was actually going to start doing that, because he was about to start filming for Roblox Gone Crazy 5. I wrote back asking if I could join in, because I thought that could be fun. He accepted, and the rest is history. That was before I'd really even had any major viewership on Roblox, because at the time, I had only made 2 Roblox videos. Right here it even says, my first ever was XiaoXiaoMan's Roblox Adventure Paintball Field of Traps, one of the worst titles I've given any video on my channel. And that video itself was a failed attempt at making a comedy video for the comedy video contest that had gone on a month or 2 prior, but I missed the deadline and figured, why let all this go to waste? The other video is actually how I started to gain some traction, which was Need for Speed Roblox City, my entry into the June Action Adventure contest, which won for best camera work and got me my Golden Robloxian and 1,000 Robux, 900 of which went to my fedora, making me one of the only OG owners of the Golden Robloxian still left, depending on how you count it, really. I say it still counts because I never legitimately gave that thing up. More on that later. Although I did get it back, or at least, I got it rolled back. All that, of course, was just the beginning of starting to gain traction on the platform. I was still small time back then, but was already starting to grow an ego. On July 12th, 2017, after nearly a 2-year hiatus from uploading any Roblox-related content... Oh shit, was it that long? Jeez. My last video was December 23rd, 2015. Oops. Wait, wasn't that the... No, that was the... Because I'm thinking of the worst game, the unspeakable game, which was an April Fool's joke, so I wouldn't have uploaded that in December. I can't remember what that Roblox video was, actually. Or if it's even still there. And then I made the video in 2017 about Roblox not wanting us to talk about net neutrality. Yeah, despite them having no problem with supporting the anti-SOPA, anti-PIPA movement, makes you wonder what the hell Roblox has to gain from not letting us talk about net neutrality. I still stand by that suspicion. January 2nd, 2019... Oh, that's when I put up the definition of insanity. after a year of not uploading anything Roblox related. I feel like at this point, this article is just guilt-tripping me and not making Roblox videos as frequently as I used to, which... What do you want me to say? I just don't care about the game anymore. It's hard to make videos about a game that I just do not care for anymore, and yet here I am, making one more. August 11th, 2020 is when I fell for that Roblox security scam. I had actually been told before about the scam, but it was worded so poorly as to be completely useless as a warning. So, unfortunately, I fell for that trap hook, line, and sinker. And of course, Roblox isn't going to do anything about the person who actually started that because the exchange happened on Discord. So, because it's about the game but it's not on their platform, they're not going to do anything about them. Go figure. All my valuable stuff was taken off the account and given away, and most of it was eventually rolled back. So, I was given the fedora back, I was given my golden Robloxian back, but it didn't matter because the very next year, I was gone again. But at the very least, before that happened, I was able to get another raging Roblox reviewer out there on Work at a Pizza Place. The first episode of Raging Roblox Reviewer in 7 years. Oops. Yeah, even I remember this one. Welcome to the Town of Robloxia was back in 2013. I wanted to get the next episode out in 2015, and, well, look how well that went. It was supposed to be at Work at a Pizza Place, but at the time... For some reason or another, I just stopped working on it, having lost the motivation to do much of anything Roblox related at the time, for the most part. And because I'm a lazy bastard anyway. Not to mention, that's also around the time I started grad school, so I had a lot on my mind. But at least it finally happened, 5 years after I planned it to, after which point I'm sure a lot of my fans moved on. But a lot of them also stuck around, which I am eternally grateful for. You watching the video, you're probably one of those people, so thank you so much. I seriously appreciate your patience through all this, and I apologize for having a worse upload schedule than JonTron. As for the Pizza Place review, the game had changed so much by the time I was actually ready to actually review the damn place, for real this time. It had changed so much that all my old footage was rendered completely useless, so I had to ditch all of it and start all over again. And then I upgraded computers, and my editing software, for some reason or other, could not transfer over to it. So I couldn't edit. There was some editing software out there that I could have used, but I didn't want to relearn everything because I felt like that would just compromise the quality of the video and waste time. More than I already wasted. So I handed editing over to Daffy Titanic after I got the video and voiceover done. Some of the voiceover was actually done in my Discord server for fans to listen in on, so that I could actually prove that I was working on it, damn it! The end result was something I feel like I couldn't have done a better job with the editing if I tried. There were 1 or 2 bits that I would have changed, as seen in the deleted scene that I posted, but other than that, Daffy did a great job. Which makes me a little scared to be back at the helm editing this next final Roblox video, because I feel like that's going to be a tough act to follow, but we'll see what happens. March 5th, 2021, my account was terminated a second time for being compromised, according to Roblox. And yeah, it's got this right when it says that I contacted Roblox at first, but they told me that they couldn't do anything about it, so I just said, fuck it, this isn't worth it anymore, and that was that. To the point where I even uploaded my video about Roblox not being worth it. Incidentally, I'm actually recording this one day after I had actually done this initially, and it actually adds a little bit of context about the video that I made here, because I don't remember this paragraph about my Roblox isn't worth it video being here until today. That must have been edited or thrown in there overnight. Well, talk about timing. Now I'm glad I delayed the video, or rather, delayed doing the voiceover for it. So a lot of this I've seen before, but I haven't seen this before. And it says I'll only make one more episode of Raging Roblox Review before I shelf it, possibly for good. Yeah, pretty much. I don't have any plans to go back to Roblox after I'm done with that video. Maybe 1 or 2 retrospectives, but I feel like after this last Raging Roblox Reviewer goes up, that's it. I want to end off my time with Roblox with a bang instead of a whimper if I can help it. Maybe I'll do a little something after the fact, but I really don't see any point at this time. Maybe I'll do something after that, like a little bit here and there, but I don't really think there's any point anymore. And yeah, the paragraph is just summarizing the points I already made in the video, so I don't really need to repeat myself on that front. Moving on, it says I'm not well known for my places. again, thanks for rubbing it in. I wanted people to know me from my places, but that just didn't really pan out the way I hoped it would. At the time, I was trying to get Roblox clout before it was actually profitable like it could be today. Some of the places that I made on my alternate accounts were more popular than anything I had ever made on my main account, which had me a little bit salty because I couldn't transfer the tickets over that easily, because I didn't have Builders Club and I wasn't gonna buy it. Most popular is the Dry Bones Arcade, dedicated to Dry Bones. The play slot where the Dry Bones Arcade is hosted has actually been home to a multitude of different games, so I can't actually remember how popular each of those games were during their time on that particular place slot, because back in the day, you could only have one active place at a time unless you had Builders Club, which I never did, aside from a couple times when someone was kind enough to donate for it by giving me codes. Although I think it is safe to say that none of them ever hit the popularity that the Dry Bones Arcade ever did. As for Dry Bones himself, I mean, the writing's literally on the wall on that one, isn't it? Just about on the wall as my fandom for Dry Bones is, in a few Gary's Mods videos, including Tales of Dry Bones, which I discontinued. Yeah, I discontinued Tales of Dry Bones because it sucked. It was clunky, it was unfocused, clumsy, didn't really know what kind of tone it wanted to be, didn't know what kind of story it wanted to be, and it was just a mess. I regret making it, but it was something of a learning experience. It taught me a lot about how not to make a narrative-driven video. My adoration for Dry Bones, however, still remains. He also shows his fandom for the popular 2007 first-person shooter, Team Fortress 2, in some videos in his channel image. What does that have to do with my game? I mean, you could make a case that XiaoXiaoMan's Team Fortress 2 shows my fandom. And again, Jedi Knight 123 coming in clutch with a beautiful, faithful recreation of 2 Fort for use in that game, which I never even properly finished making. I never got most of the melee weapons working, some of the weapons are wrong, Engineer is a class I never got to work. But you're not wrong about my fandom for the game. Most of his games, especially Dry Bones Arcade, has been broken several times due to updates. He has also fixed it multiple times. I fixed some of it, someone else I got on to fix some of it. Apparently there were 1 or 2 people who would have fixed everything they could have if I just handed the game over to them, and as much as I trusted them to do such a thing, I never went ahead with it because couldn't be bothered. Oops. Although apparently the Dry Bones Arcade still holds up surprisingly well given all the updates that have been made to the game, to Roblox that is, and most of the arcade still functions as intended. Most of it, not all of it. I'm pretty sure the Cartwright is completely broken because Roblox changed the physics engine, or changed how physics work in general, something or another. But most of what matters still seems to work, even though Annabelle, the overpowered shotgun that's not even worth it if you already have all the other prizes, because all it does is give you more tickets. Annabelle is broken because now it only fires in one direction, which makes me sad. And yes, Annabelle is named after Father Grigori's lever action, even though the gun in the Dry Bones Arcade is not a lever action, it's a pump action. What can I say? I just looked up Winchester in free models, I found a good working one, modified it to give tickets on kills of particular NPCs, and bada bing bada boom. But by the time you can even afford Annabelle, you probably already got the other prizes anyway, so again, it didn't really matter much, did it? It was just for bragging rights. I meant to add more prizes, but that just never happened. Dry Bones Arcade is based on the concept of an arcade. Why do you think I called it an arcade? And then there's Quick Draw Heavy, in which you can challenge the TF2 character, the Heavy, to a gunfight that can instantly kill the player. Yeah, it's not that it can instantly kill the player, it will instantly kill the player. You're not gonna beat him. I haven't even beaten him. That game is, of course, as many might have guessed, a nod to Gmod Idiot Box Episode 5, where there's a skit about the Quick Draw Heavy, which Alex decides to challenge. I just wanted to make a working version of it. A shootout in which you can shoot civilians. You know, maybe I shouldn't have made them civilians, because I feel like I could have gone for something a little more PG than that. But that is neither here nor there. I suppose it never occurred to me that I could let you shoot Goombas instead. Oh well. And a trap in which the player can fall into a pit. Yeah, that trap has a name. It's called Pure Chance. And Pure Chance is exactly what it says on the tin. It's a game where half the time you get 50 tickets. It used to be 15, but I buffed it. And half the time you just fall into the pit of fire and die. The whole point of the arcade is that everything is a lot more hands-on than a traditional arcade. You are part of the attraction, and of course the Dry Bones arcade is not liable for any injury or death sustained while participating in the games. You'll respawn anyway, get over it. Points can be used to spend on gear and tools in the game. Some of them are just novelties, some of them have hidden use. The companion cubes were actually, as a fun little side note, something that you just hold out and that was it. But I eventually decided to let people drop them and then click again to pick them back up again, because I figured maybe someone will find a way to be creative with it. Another funny thing about the Dry Bones arcade is that it wasn't originally its own place. It actually started as a side attraction for another game project I was working on, which never came through. It was my own take on the concept of Trouble in Terrorist Town, although I didn't really have a full understanding of Trouble in Terrorist Town, so it probably wouldn't have held up anyway. But to shake up the monotony of the main gameplay loop, I added in intermission sessions where you could go into the arcade and play a couple games. And yeah, it was the Dry Bones arcade, even then. And you would earn points or tickets actually, and use those tickets to buy weapons that you would spawn in with at the start of each round. The prices were mostly the same. I can't remember what all the guns were, but I do remember the 5,000 ticket prize was the Barrett sniper rifle, which was a gun that was powerful enough to kill anyone in one hit, and I would always have all the guns on the map somewhere, but the Barrett sniper was always somewhere almost impossible to reach, or you'd have to find some creative way to get up there, maybe teamwork or something. And back then, the arcade was only a couple games. It had the Quick Draw Heavy, Pure Chance, Brain Twister, and the shooting range. And that was it. There was no second floor. And the reason you have that big, open, empty area in the spawn room is because that big room used to be the spectator area where you would stand and watch the game unfold or wait for the next round to play out. That's why you have all those big balls in there too, so that you could just roll them around if you were bored and just mess around while you were waiting for the next round. Funny how all that works, isn't it? Walk on Water Ctf was a slightly more ambitious place, where it was a twist on the classic CTF formula, except the flags were up on the wall, and you'd have to use the leap tool to get up there. And you had all these wibbly-wobbly platforms where you could fall in the water, and if you stayed down under the water too long, you would drown and die. The problem is, staying underwater meant that any damage you sustained from being underwater would stay once you reached the surface again. So you could almost drown to death, and then one stray bullet was all it took to kill you, or whatever I used for guns at that time. I can't actually remember what I had. Swords and rockets, I think? There was also a single-player mode built in where if you were playing by yourself, you could fight off waves of zombies while you waited for another player to join. And then Burning Crossroads, which was, again, exactly what it says in the tin. You burn crossroads with the fire tools that I give you. It was my attempt at making my own rendition of the fire script that I think it was Jacob XX Duel, who now goes by Reverse Polarity, who made the fire tool. Him or Mr. Doombringer, can't remember which. But there was something kind of satisfying about watching everything burn and collapse, especially with the new proper fire particle effect that we got. On October 3rd, 2017, in a pinned comment in the video, "Why should you watch my Twitch streams?" I revealed Raging Roblox Review will return before the end of the year. However, this promise was not fulfilled. Man, whoever wrote this really had it out for me, didn't they? It's like they want to remind me of every failure I've ever had. I mean, fair point. I did miss out on that promise, but life developments happened that I was not entirely anticipating. That and my work ethic was not exactly amazing. But again, I do have to wonder what exactly this has to do with my places. Looks like this article could use a little bit cleaning up. Now we go to projects. Raging Roblox Reviewer actually has its own article, but there doesn't seem to be that much on there. Most of the talk of the project is actually right here on this page, so here's where we'll stay. A satirical video series made by Xiao, debuted March 12, 2010, 12 years ago, Jesus. With the first episode being a review of Reason to Die. I rate games, mainly front page games, later deemed to be terrible, with the exception of Reason to Die, Welcome to the Town of Robloxia, and Work at a Pizza Place. I didn't even know the show was going to be a review show paying homage to AVGN until I was already in the editing phase of it. I'd already recorded the footage, and I was thinking, you know, maybe I'll do a place review series where I just look at places on Roblox and tell people what they're like. But I needed a name for the show, and I figured, the hell with it, let's just make it friggin' Raging Roblox Reviewer. So naturally, all the anger and rage in that episode in particular was shoehorned in completely because I wasn't actually prepared to do that until a little later. Like, it started off as a proper review, and then a little later I realized, oh, wait a minute, I have to make this a AVGN homage. I need to be angry and pissed off and shit like that, so I had to find something to get really pissed about and throw in some profanity. Starting the series out on a game that was actually pretty good was probably the first mistake, at least for a series like this. But I didn't know at the time, and I decided I'd already gotten the footage for it, so why scrap it now? I often swear in these reviews. Yeah, that's part of the show, isn't it? It's not Raging Roblox Reviewer without profanity, the same way AVGN isn't AVGN without profanity. And while the show is satirical, many feel that it presents valid points as a critical opinion of places. That's a fair point. The things I say on the show do stem from roots of truth. It's not like I'm pulling all these criticisms out of my ass, but at the same time, it's also a mix of valid criticism and nitpicks that I blow completely out of proportion. I was yelling at a statue in the Survive the Disasters review. I feel like that alone should tell you exactly what kind of show you're in for. What's especially funny is I always see in videos like that, people telling me, oh, to avoid the plane crash, you have to go to the corner of the map. And to that I say, for one thing, I don't care. That's not the point of the show. And for another thing, how would anyone in their right mind know to do that anyway? So yeah, it is a mix of legitimate grievances and, again, things that I just make a big deal out of for no particular reason, other than just to make a big deal out of them for comedy purposes. The whole comedy of this show is that I'm getting pissed off at the silliest things. Well, mostly. Title cards created by Patacaro. Man, I haven't heard from him in a long time. Is he even still around doing anything anymore? All I know is that I was going to ask him for title cards for future episodes of the show, but by the time I was ready for that, I'd lost contact with him, and I felt like in the position he's in now, wherever he is, he's probably not gonna be willing to do this kind of thing for free anymore, like he was back then. Pixel Flame, another personality that seems to have dropped off at the face of the earth, at least in terms of all things Roblox. Don't know what the hell he's up to anymore, and frankly don't really care. And just recently, Daffy Titanic, who will be providing the title card and one other art asset, at least, for the next Raging Roblox Reviewer, which I would say is kind of a spoiler at this point that I'm even doing that, but the writing's on the wall for anyone who's already in my Discord server and anyone who's been paying any attention to anything going on over here. Plus, I've already said it anyway, so it's not really a spoiler anymore. I like how it says that an older audience is suggested when it talks about how my videos are inspired by AVGN, even though I'm pretty sure most people who watch AVGN, or at least a lot of the people who started watching AVGN, were probably not old enough for the show anyway. Just like I'm sure a lot of people who watched Raging Roblox Reviewer probably weren't really old enough for all that profanity. But for the most part, the worst I really had in the show is profanity. It's not like I really get that risque, usually. And there it is again. Due to his account termination, I revealed that there'll be one more episode on Reason to Die Awakening. That is correct. That's something I was hoping to keep a little bit under wraps, but I've come this far, might as well let you know what's going on, right? You deserve to know after all these years. And it's also got this little blurb here talking about how before I'd even watched AVGN, I had first stumbled upon Irate Gamer. I don't even know how or why that happened at the time, but it's true that I did watch Irate Gamer for a while before I realized, wait a minute, this is just discount AVGN, down to the point of even literally copying some of his episodes and criticisms, so that's when I decided to stop. I also remember this part of the article was actually something that I asked someone to rewrite at the time, because all they did was take the words out of my mouth and paste it into the wiki, which is plagiarism. I wasn't gonna sue them for that, but I wanted this place to have a little more integrity than just copy-pasting, if they could help it. And it talks about how I'd said Reason to Die was one of the best places selected to be on the front page, but the host still thought and thinks today it wasn't the best way to start the series. Yep, it certainly wasn't. But again, that was a time before I even knew I was going to be doing an AVGN homage. I thought I was just going to be doing a standard review series where I would recommend games to people or tell people why other games are honestly not really worth merit. And it is true, again, that it says here that it's a lot easier to keep the raging aspect of my reviews when I have bad places to work with, or at the very least, places that have something to actually complain about. It's just like Anton Ego talking about how, in many ways, the work of a critic is easy. in that you thrive on negativity, which is fun to read and to write. Which it is. It's kinda cathartic, but I also decided, why not just mix it up a little bit with places that are popular, but may not even be necessarily bad. If I do that, then that also makes it easier to drive the point home that this is satire, that I'm blowing this shit out of proportion for no good reason other than for comedy purposes. Because the raging Roblox reviewer persona is a petty, vindictive persona. It's not like he's gonna give a fair review to any game he looks at. At least, that was the plan. Oh boy, the Club Christie controversy. This is gonna be fun, isn't it? This is the kind of thing that I did 10 years ago, and it's something that I wish people would just move the fuck on from. It's done and dusted, leave it alone, even though some people, who shall remain nameless, seem to keep wanting the controversy to continue for whatever reason. But anyway, let's take a look at this. My second review was Club Christie, the infamous Club Christie, as this article puts it. Yeah, it sure had its 15 minutes of fame. After the review, the game was abandoned. Now, I don't really know whether my review actually had anything to do with the place being abandoned after my review of it, or if the game had lost all its players because it had outlived its 15 minutes of fame. I don't really know, but at the time, I took credit for it because that's the kind of person I was back then. I remember hearing somewhere that if you can look at your past self and cringe at it, that means you've grown as a person. And if that's true, by God have I grown as a person. Jesus Christ, I was insufferable back then. At some point, I had made it a point to attack the place, not the person, when I'm doing Raging Roblox Reviewer. For the most part. Unless the person intertwines themselves with the place itself, I'd rather not attack the person, because that's just ad hominem and mean-spirited. And that's exactly what happened with a lot of the things I did with the whole situation. Let's just say there's a reason the Club Christie follow-up video is gone. It was just, for one thing, a violation of the YouTube community guidelines, and for another, it was mean-spirited anyway. So I can certainly concede that there were things that I did back then that I should not have done, including that whole Christina admits to being a slut video. That was just, why did I do that? Just why? It's not like she made things any better herself. You could argue that, had she not done that, I wouldn't even have made those videos in the first place. That's not to say I'm gonna justify what I did, though. And then came the Raging Christie video, after which I posted a response, as it says, debunking her arguments. That's probably the most intelligent thing I did throughout the whole thing, because in that video, I did what I should have done at first, because in that video, at no point did I ever attack her. I was overly smug about it, but I don't recall attacking her as a person in the response to that video, but rather I would just take all of her arguments and debunk them, or otherwise just point out the fact that she was missing the point or some other fallacy that she was engaged in. And then the video disappeared. We thought it was taken down by YouTube, but turns out it was actually Christina who deleted the video. Maybe she realized her mistakes, maybe she just didn't like the bad press. Either way, the original video is long gone. Xiao was thinking of revisiting Club Christie, possibly because of a new update to the game. Wait, was I? When was... Not gonna lie, I don't actually remember that part. When did I say that? Huh. It's been a long time. And this is just one of those things that I prefer to keep buried in my subconscious, never to really break out until I actually have to. Later she was banned, and rejoined on a new account to start a new career. Jeez, this article ain't pulling any punches. She continued her old habits of arrogance with ads for her new place, the Pop Club, which she claimed to be the official social hangout. I can think of a few reasons as to why calling it official would be problematic, but that's beside the point. And apparently at some point I gave consideration to reviewing the new place due to popular demand. If I said anything of the sort, I don't quite remember it. I'm not gonna say I didn't say anything of the sort, I'm just saying I have the memory of a fish sometimes. Then again, you have to understand that you're dealing with me, a guy who can remember a game show from 25 years ago, but half the time can barely remember what he just got up to do. So, I'll take your word for it, article. Although, knowing me back then, I really wouldn't put it past myself to consider such a thing. About a year later, she gave up and deleted it, to which made a reaction video. What? Did I make a reaction video to that? I feel like we need a couple citations here, because now I'm starting to wonder how much of this is just me not remembering something, and how much of it is just straight up not true. Again, I'm not gonna say it's false information, I'm just gonna say citation needed. And then she reactivated her account, apparently, saying she was thinking about going on to the account, or make another account. She's still active, but does not make places anymore. All I'm gonna say about this whole ordeal at this point is, I just want to be done with that already. Alright, it's been 12 years since this happened. Can we just get the fuck over ourselves, please? I know people love to bring it up every now and then whenever they see me, or they like to talk to me about it and dance on her ashes, as it were, or kick her while she's just old news, guys. Leave her alone. This whole matter is dead and buried, and it deserves to stay that way. No sense in beating a dead horse, alright? Now, if I ever have to talk about anything related to this whole fiasco again, I swear to God, I'm gonna go insane. Oh, here's the thing about fun facts. I actually already talked about that before, but now it talks about how they're not actually fun facts, but are rants in which I complain about bad administrators used in all things notorious about Roblox. All the while talking in a corny tone of voice. Yep, that's the whole point of that, or at least the latter half is the point. But the whole point of Roblox fun facts is that it's a mix of half-truths and straight-up falsehoods. Some of the things I say are only kinda true, or I'm bending and twisting the truth, or taking things out of context, and the rest of it is just shit I'm pulling out of my ass. Unless you're genuinely going to tell me that there's a king of Legoland, and that he confronted the Roblox administrators at gunpoint to change the shape of the studs. If anything, I'm pretty sure, at most, Lego might have served Roblox a cease and desist, if anything. Or Roblox changed it of their own accord so that they wouldn't get a cease and desist or get sued or anything of the sort. I don't know. Currently there are 5 videos, and that's all there's going to be, because I feel like the series has run its course by now, and it just comes back to, I want to be done with Roblox. Right here it talks about my terminations, like the time when I got scammed, and then again, when I got deleted for no reason, really. And as for replacing my fedora with Brinsop of the Black Heart, I just picked that because it felt silly to be completely bald or hatless or whatever, and it was the coolest thing that I still had in my inventory at the time. Plus, Ignatius. I thought it'd be a nice little shout out to him. And following that, like it says here, I did set my inventory to private, just to prevent anyone else from trying to get any ideas because they see something valuable in my account. But now my account is gone, so it's not even a problem anymore. Have fun trying to steal anything from that account now, jackasses. Which brings us to second termination, where on March 5th I was terminated, and I confirmed that Roblox wasn't going to do anything about it. And again, everything I could say about that, I've already covered in the video Roblox Isn't Worth It, so just go watch that. Coming up on the trivia section, we have, he has a private green screen studio for recording the Fun Facts series. Chroma, he has to remove his snake, or else the chroma keyer will make it disappear. I think this article could use a little bit of grammatical cleanup because I've seen a few grammatical derps here and there. But I do at least get the gist of what they're saying here. I'm kind of surprised that this itself is a trivia article because it's really not that hard to make or find a green screen place. But it is true that I have to take the snake off when I'm doing the fun facts videos because otherwise the snake is just going to show up all weird or almost entirely disappear because green on green. The chroma keyer makes green disappear, which also makes the blue on my shirt a little bit of a different tone because of how the chroma keying works. Apparently I have some dislike toward many online daters. I mean, I don't know why you would date online, and only online, unless you're actually going to meet up in person, but that's whatever. And bronies, fans of MLP. His hatred of bronies was shown in the Welcome to the Town of Robloxia review. This has given him some dislike among YouTubers and seemed to have cost him some subscribers. Well, boo frickety who? You're gonna... Remember when MLP was such a big thing back then? I know it's still kind of a big thing now, but it's nowhere near as big as it was back then. But I was an unapologetic anti-brony back then. Maybe it was kind of petty of me, I can concede, but at the same time, bronies were so fucking insufferable about forcing it down everyone's throats. Like, what happened to love and tolerate, huh? If you're all about that, why aren't you tolerating my indifference at best, hatred at worst towards the thing? It kind of reminds me, actually, of something Beaushit once said, regarding the whole thing, saying that bronies have to respect the anti-bronies' wishes before they can expect to have it returned. Which is true, because, like he said, if they say they don't want to have anything to do with it, you're only making it worse by trying to convince them otherwise. Because you're just building on that negative bias and making it worse and making them more irritable, which is precisely the problem that I had with them, along with the fact that they were over-glorifying a kid's show where there was no adult humor or anything that they raved about to speak of, but that's done and dusted. I'm just saying, if you really want quality kids' entertainment, if you ask me, there's better out there. Thomas the Tank Engine being my gold standard. My name is a pinyin version of the Chinese word XiaoXiaoMan. I might be butchering that, but then again, my pronunciation of XiaoXiaoMan is generally butchered as it is. And as much as the Zhao part is Chinese, the man part is just man. It's not meant to be Chinese or anything, it's just man. I'm the XiaoXiaoMan. When a Chinese word is repeated, it represents emphasis. I was not aware of that. As for the origin of the name XiaoXiaoMan, that would be the Flash series XiaoXiao, which was made by some Chinese guy who really liked The Matrix. It's all about stick figures, martial arts, and guns, which is The Matrix without the stick figures, obviously. He's 28 years old, according to his YouTube channel description. Well, I'm 29 now, so that's gotta be updated. God of War series discontinued it since it was too limiting for him. I'm trying to understand what they mean by too limiting. There were some limitations, like I said before. I wasn't confident that I was going to be able to pull off the things I wanted to pull off on Roblox, given how limited the platform was at the time. And I'm sure if I wanted to continue it, I could, but I really don't think it's worth the time and effort at this point. So now, instead of the game limiting me, it's just life and lack of motivation limiting me. And yeah, I'm guilty as charged here with not uploading on YouTube often, although I am active on Twitch, mostly, aside from the weeks that I take off. But then again, given how low my viewership tends to be on Twitch, I generally don't feel like I'm really screwing myself over that badly. Put it this way, as it stands right now, if I get double-digit viewership on Twitch, it's my lucky day. Usually, if anything, I can only ever get, if I'm lucky, maybe 5-6 viewers, which is whatever, but sometimes I just wish I had a few more people to entertain. I understand watching a 3-hour Twitch stream is a big ask, and I've been looking into making highlight reels of my Twitch streams, and repeatedly putting it off, because of course I have. But I can at the very least understand why not everyone would do that. Because that's a long time to be sitting there. And if anything, you're probably just going to have that on in the background while you're doing other things, which I perfectly understand. But if you do want to watch me actually enjoying myself, then my Twitch channel is definitely the place to go. Or the Discord server, because I'm there every day. Yeah, and here it says that I'd exploited a game on an alternate account. That alternate account is long gone. But, yep, I once exploited on Roblox on that alt account. I've even done it on my main account, and it never got banned or anything. That just shows you how ridiculously terrible Roblox security is. I never did anything super damaging, I want to say, and I only limited my rage to one particular place. I won't say what that place was, because I don't want it to be targeted even more. Not that it matters, I'm pretty sure nobody visits it anyway. But yeah, I gave that place hell, and it was all because it had a reset tool, and I had some basic knowledge on how to use Cheat Engine. It should not have been that easy to do that, but I did it. It had the funny side effect of me actually being able to meet the guy who made the place, and he actually admitted that the main asset for the place that he used was actually given to him. And frankly, after talking to him, he seemed like a chill enough guy, and I felt bad for him, so I just stopped doing it. What possessed me to do that back then? I don't really know. Really, all I could say is I guess it was still in my edgelord teenage phase, and I just thought it was funny to wreak havoc. Although, given some of the shit that's been done on Roblox these days, with the cheaters, exploiters, script kiddies, what I did back then, sabotaging the place and making everything disappear, like deleting the floor, and all that stuff, what I did was low-key compared to what people do nowadays. I'm not gonna defend it, but I could have done a lot worse if I wanted to, I suppose. I'm just amazed Roblox never caught me, so, hey. There's one more reason not to feel bad about my account getting deleted, right? It's just that they're about 10 or 12 years too late to catch on to my game. And here you go, now you can stop asking once again what the song I used in Raging Roblox Reviewer, Beast and the Harlot by Avenged Sevenfold. That is correct. I think I said it before somewhere, but then again, it's kind of on me for neglecting to even put it in the description of my videos anyway. Oops. But then again, do people even read descriptions anymore? Nobody read them even back then. Few people ever read them back then, at the very least. Oh yeah, and then I had the WordPress which I quickly abandoned because I got bored of it. That's what happens with a lot of my projects that I just stop making. I just get bored of it, or I just don't have the willpower to make more of it, or whatever. It wasn't a particularly good website anyway. Like, it was supposed to be about Roblox history, but it got to a point where things were getting a little more gossipy, and I didn't have the training and experience with historical research that I have today, so it never occurred to me to ask more than one source about a particular story to get multiple perspectives. It doesn't have the journalistic integrity that it should have. And then talking about how most of my videos reference Team Fortress 2. A lot of them do, and yet I haven't played Team Fortress 2 in years. So, I will still say, though, Team Fortress 2 remains an all-time favorite for me. I have many, many fond memories of that game. Unfortunately, I just got bored of it, and seeing what the game has turned into these days, it feels like I'm really not missing out on much. Ugh, looking at the gallery and seeing the images of me from days of old when I had the gray background and this super pixelated... God, my logo was so badly aliased back then. And on a gray background, like, why? At the very least, I've improved it. And I like how it has question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark for me with my gear, except no fedora. That is what I looked like during the time when I was still waiting for my account to get its content rolled back after my first termination. And that's when I put on the dragon head. Now, I remember there was a article somewhere on this website about Roblox random insanity, but if memory serves me, it was just recounting every single joke in the video, which makes it kind of redundant, so... And the Raging Roblox Reviewer article mostly reiterates on things that I already talked about, other than mentioning the unreleased review of RUN that never saw the light of day. So it looks like that's about all there is to cover. Maybe it'll be updated with the information I provided here, maybe it won't be, but it seems like the wiki community is fairly active, so chances are someone's gonna see this video, and they'll probably update things one way or another. That'll be it for this video, and as for Raging Roblox Reviewer, well, you'll just have to see what I have in store for you there, won't you? I'll see you then.